let's talk about what probably everyone is talking about, which is what is AI search doing and how it's impacting the full funnel media that probably most of you are driving. Well, AI search has changed the game. The AI overviews are taking over. Everyone's going to ChatGPT. I just did this myself for making a itinerary for a travel vacation, and it was perfect. But what we're seeing is that everyone's using AI search. It's growing exponentially, right? ChatGPT has 4.57 billion visits per month. That's a lot. Google AI overviews are growing over and over and taking over the SERP landscape. Now, why this is important to paid media is every one of your traffics and the old funnel is changing. Um, what we see, and you can insert a Ron Burgundy line here, about 80% of search users rely on ASMRs at least 40% of the time. That means people are trusting it. So the AI summary that shows up in Google that used to be your paid search ad or your organic ad is now just an AI summary. The traffic you're driving to your website, whether that be through 6sense, whether that be through paid social, LinkedIn, Meta, whatever you're using, is even more important if you want to get conversions because they're coming back later. As they click less, they're understanding more, but they're doing their research in different mediums now, i.e., through LLMs and Google AI overviews. This is a chart, and this is probably a nicer chart than we've seen for some of our clients, which is, hey, we're doing good work in SEO. We're doing good work in paid. However, the amount of impressions, they're still the same, they're flat. The amount of clicks are drastically dropping off the face of the earth. That means every visit to your website is more important. You're losing visibility out there in the SERP, which used to be your front door, how you get traffic to there. And it still is the front door because people are going to come back later to it. But basically, you're losing your click-through rates from the number one position. What are you going to do elsewhere? Some of our clients are seeing a much more drastic chart, and what we're doing is helping combat that with different paid strategies, as well as how we're helping get citations into LLMs to drive traffic from them into your actual website. The new reality, right? We kind of just said this, but basically, if you're still using the same playbook, you're in trouble. The playbook has changed. It's changed on us in the past year, and it keeps changing. Everyone here probably has the same thing. And what we hear from all of our clients is we have a flat budget. We have less organic traffic, maybe equal, and we have increasing goals. That's probably the story. How are you going to do that in the same world? And have you changed your strategy? And if you have not, then you're already behind. So let's talk. This is a high level ABX omni-channel strategy that we look at with each and every one of our clients. First and foremost, understand your ICP, understand the audience in detail of basically where they are, how they consume media, where they need to be, what's the right way to get in front of them, and make sure your target account list is aligned. So many times we see that the ICP that you want to go after is not actually in your target account list, or your target account list is too small. How do we make sure you have the right target account list? Defining the play. Defining the play is you could run a targeted demand gen campaign across the US, UK, Australia, wherever it is. Do you need to have a one-to-few play? What are you going to do for your existing cross-sell, upsell? There's different campaigns within the mix that need to be understood up front so we put the right activation behind it. And that's where it's never just a one-size-fits-all. It is how do we actually do this from what makes sense for where you are? The next thing, as we go down from 1, 2 to 3, is make sure your 6sense strategy is actually set up correct. Before we go into any paid channels, the first thing we do when we're actually working with customers is basically based on the ICP and the TAL and the plays we're going to do. Are your segments, are your campaigns, are your exclusions, are they set up correctly? Most of you are probably pushing segments, whether it be to LinkedIn, whether it be to the trade desk in the new beta that came out, or even into Google. Are you actually targeting customers at the right time in the right stage? Liz is going to talk about this part a lot more, but that helps activate our full funnel media that we bring to market. The next thing you can add on is LLM insights. If you're not using these, you're crazy, right? So we can go see from a tool that we have What are the keywords that your personas are actually like looking into? Not just SEO keywords, but long tail. That can help inform SEM. It can help inform your 6sense keywords. It can help inform all of that. What publishers matter? So what publishers are actually showing up and putting into inciting you or your competitors? How do you understand which competitors to go after as you do that? But also, what are the most recommended content topics? That way, when you put content out there, whether it be awareness, consideration, decision, or whatever buyer journey stage you're in, you're putting the right content that actually will resonate to these buyers based on the insights of what they're actually researching via LLMs. Then make sure you have the right landing page. So many times we don't have the right CTAs, we don't have the right conversion experience. How do we make sure, whether it be gated, ungated, awareness, consideration, decision, that's right there, and also have the right personalized message. Make sure you're talking to your user at the right time, and then orchestrate that. Easier said than done, but that's why we have Liz here to walk you through the rest of it, which is going to basically walk through some of the insights and some channel best practices and all that. But this is our call it 7-step playbook that we rinse and repeat only to customize based on where customers currently are and clients to orchestrate full funnel media. Liz.
Cool. Thanks, Brian. So before we move on, I do want to pause real quick and do what I think I do best, which is tell a joke. Brian and Kyle, I can only see you. So if you don't laugh, I'll be severely offended. So since it's Halloween, I have a themed one. So why did the ABM marketer dress up as a ghost for Halloween?
Why?
Because they love haunting their target accounts quarter after quarter. Bum, bum.
Liz might do this in all of our all hands and everything, and it's always a nice icebreaker to hear Liz's perfect jokes. And I see everyone on the room is doing a crying, laughing emoji.
I
That
will have more
response.
material there in Vegas, so stop by the booth and I'll tell you some more jokes. So, all right. So now that I think I've scared up a smile with those two. Let's dig into how we bring this all to life with paid media. So, building a little bit on what Brian just shared, the core of our 6sense strategies really comes down to the activation, which you can see in this chart. So we'll start by developing a 6sense strategy that's aligned to those personas, different content, and then all of our paid channels. And from there, we'll launch either targeted demand gen or ABX programs through that are powered through that 6sense platform. We want to make sure that, as Brian mentioned, we're serving content at the right time to the right audience and definitely within the right place. So now anyone we know can put ads up on LinkedIn or, publisher networks, but the difference is how we really map these traditional tactics to the 6sense buying segments across the funnel. That's really how we power the funnel. It's through ABM, it's through 6sense, making sure that we're ensuring every stage, every channel, and every message works together. You can go to the next slide. So a lot of times when we're talking to clients, we're really talking to them about aligning each channel with its role in the funnel. And that's exactly what this chart shows. I really love this chart because it really lays out the different tactics over on the left within your media mix, the actual funnel stage, whether it's targeted awareness, consideration, decision, and then the content that you should be promoting throughout the funnel. It's not just about using every channel everywhere. It's really about knowing where that channel fits in based on the content and the KPIs it supports. The KPIs is a huge part of that because you can see at the top of the funnel, we'll have a lot of those same channels that we use later, but it's going to be completely different KPIs that we're focused on. So here at the top of the funnel, we're really focusing on that engagement, like video views, time on site, driving that awareness to your landing page. At the middle of the funnel, we're looking at that more engagement that moves a little bit closer to that conversion. So maybe it's form fills or just deeper site actions. And the bottom of the funnel where the decision lies, we're really focusing on those high intent. So these are your hand raisers. These are the ones that are really going to be your pipeline drivers. And this may not be a popular thing to say with likely a room of performance marketers, but not every channel should be a lead driver. And that's totally okay. The key is really making sure you're aligning that channel strategy to the role it plays within the funnel. All right, so how do we make this all more powerful with paid media now? So as Brian mentioned, AI is changing the game. To stay ahead, we've really got to start working with strong fundamentals, and this really boils down to the best practices within those paid media channels. So if you're not doing these best practices now, your playbook really isn't going to be very scalable. And, saying this pretty bold, you're probably actually behind. So we really want to make sure that we are mastering these fundamentals and best practices for each. So in these next several slides, I'll briefly touch on kind of our strategic best practices for SEM, paid social, programmatic, and then also publisher direct. So for paid search, we want to make sure that when we're launching, we're really launching those cohesive campaigns with aligned keywords, copy, and landing pages. And this really boosts that quality, drives better remarketing, and will ultimately lower your CPCs within the channel. As we're setting up, we'll make sure that Salesforce offline conversion tracking is set up, and we're defining those value-based rules based on your real data. This allows AI to play a role with optimizing towards revenue and not just those leads. We want to make sure that we're optimizing towards conversions. So really focusing on those deepest conversions before we test broad match and value-based bidding. And then, of course, we'll want to make sure that we're staying with the times with the changing landscape with AI. So utilizing those AI search-powered tools like AI Max, AI Broad Match, PMax, and Demand Gen, which really give us the ability to serve within the AI overview and the AI mode. Now, looking into paid social best practices when it comes to our end-to-end strategic approach, the first one really isn't just for paid social, it's for all channels, but we want to make sure that when we start, we are auditing all programs and really uncovering what data-driven opportunities we have there. This helps identify not only inefficiencies, but also immediate growth areas. So if we're coming in with a new client and we're kind of going into maintenance mode or taking over what was running, the audit process is a huge part because then we can immediately come in and make strides with recommendations and different strategies. We want to make sure that when we create a full funnel data-driven plan, that we are connecting not only that audience behavior, but also intent and CRM data. This really ensures that every dollar is focused on your most valuable audience. We'll launch and manage these campaigns with precision, making sure that we're optimizing in real time to maximize that ROI. And finally, we'll turn performance data into ongoing strategy, making sure that we're evolving everything based on those intent signals to sustain that long-term performance. So how do we bring this all to life with 6sense and the trade desk? So as we're kicking off also, we'll want to make sure that we're partnering with internal sales and marketing teams to really align and build out that top tier 1 to 3 account list. This will really help us focus our investment on accounts that truly move the needle. We'll want to make sure that we have the integration between 6sense and Trade Desk integrated. So we'll sync account audiences and enrich them with that intent and firmographic data. And this really helps us create high value segments that can scale. We'll activate across multiple programmatic platforms and tactics like display, video, CTV, making sure that we're reaching those decision makers with both contextual and persona-based targeting. And then we'll obviously continue to refine based on that engagement data. So making sure that as we get data in and we're analyzing it, we can expand into different formats or verticals that are performing best. And finally, here's where direct publishers come to play. So we call this publisher direct, and it's really where we're working with those top tier industry publications, like within different industries, different topics, and different content. So we'll audit our publisher relationships to really find that industry specific outlet that aligns directly to your buyer. So we're not just going after the big ad networks. We're really trying to get as niche as possible, finding those industry specific publications. Where we can, we'll overlay target account lists and first-party data to reach those decision makers. And this is really where they're already engaging. So they're going to these trusted industry publications to get their news, to get their insights. And so they're already engaging with the content there. The different publications will offer different tactics like newsletters, emails, native sponsored content, and kind of taking it back to the funnel slide. We want to make sure that we are matching these tactics to the funnel stage and the content type. So obviously, if you need awareness, we're really going to focus on that thought leadership. And then towards the bottom of the funnel, really driving in any sort of demo or webinar promotion. We'll analyze publisher level data. We'll try to optimize as much in real time and feed these insights into broader paid media strategies as we go along.
I've done the bad thing of actually calling them watering holes, Liz, where they're actually like, this is where people go to get water. But that's truly kind of what you can look at it as. How do you actually be where they're actually researching? And that's, again, one of the things that the LLMs help us is, hey, these are the LLMs that matter to these personas, these clients, etc., that we make sure to advertise on. So
Exactly. Yep. So this is a quick example that I wanted to show of a paid media in action to generate hot leads across multiple platforms. So most of you probably already know this, but it's kind of surprising. It like really blows clients' minds the amount of engagement that they get through promoting internal webinars. And honestly, like a lot of teams we're seeing aren't investing here. So what we do is we enable an evergreen monthly webinar series with multiple paid channels. So usually across LinkedIn, Publisher Direct, then also utilizing your internal database of leads. And we'll layer in those industry specific publishers to surround your target audience and drive the registrations and attendance rates as well. Ideally, these webinars that you're doing internally are done with a third-party industry expert. We definitely see more engagement there if you can bring someone from, the outside in, but it's definitely optional. When we promote clients what internal webinar series, the impact we see is super massive. And these can be as infrequent as once a month, once a quarter, but we've also supported campaigns with multiple series being promoted at once. It really is a program that's low-hanging fruit as an evergreen play that you can continue to see long-term value in. Awesome. All right. So now that we've covered the best practices across different channels, how do we level them up with the power of AI? So on this, I'm going to talk about the first two sections here and then pass it along to Brian to talk about some innovation that we have here at ROI with some proprietary tools. So let's talk about the two big impact areas where AI is transforming paid media execution. So the first one is within the in-platform efficiency and optimization. So kind of what I was talking about on the SEM slide with utilizing those platform-based AI tools. We want to make sure that we feed Google and LinkedIn AI bidding systems with first strong-party data. We want to make sure that we're using AI-driven creative tools like a Google image generator to scale on-brand creative quickly. And then exploring platform tools like 6sense's predictive modeling to make sure that if we're pushing that efficiency even further. So really layering on the tools that you have open to you within your own platforms and utilizing them to their greatest ability. Not only with the in-platform tools, we want to also make sure that you're using workflows that are available to you. So, like tools like Gemini or ChatGPT can really help accelerate the strategic research with custom LLM workflows. They can rapidly develop ad copy and keyword expansions and then help generate personal ad variants for different types of ABM campaigns like one-to-few and one-to-one. So with that, I'll pass it to Brian to showcase a little bit more.
Cool. So I can't call the first one our tool because we did not build this, but if you're not using an on-site chat, we always recommend Qualified. It's more of an AI SDR, and it really helps save and really drive meetings, booked meetings, and everything, pipeline, closed one deals. For a client of ours, they got 2x out of what Drift was doing. And so this was a huge win for them because what it does is it makes your paid media dollars go more. It makes your site traffic personalized, have custom experiences, and do that. So we always recommend to push into Qualified if you don't have that already set up. That's where our partnerships come in because it's not just what paid media can do, it's what the paid and owned does together. We leverage, and we do this within all of our strategies for any client, is our proprietary AI tool. Talked about this earlier. It's our tool. We can put in your personas, put in your keywords, your search intent, your competitors, your products, and we get the long tail keywords. That helps inform SEM, helps inform paid social. We understand what publishers matter, and we get those competitive insights so that we can understand where to play and also where not to play, because it can be a dangerous game with money, and investing your dollars wisely is as top of mind for making sure we have the right results. I'm going to move into proof is in the pipeline. So we've done this. We've done this for quite a few clients. I'm going to give you some different use cases here where Zora, for example, came to us, 6sense. All these are 6sense customers, by the way, and we're using what Liz talked about, where they're saying 6sense is in the middle, powering those buyer journey stages, the content across them, the different channels. Now, some of them had different channel mixes. They all have different ICPs, different content, and also a different GTM. So customizing to them is what we're going to go through here. Zora was flipping the funnel. They went from an ungated strategy to a kind of gated strategy, and they needed us to help architect that. Well, when we did this, what we were able to do was powering through 6sense into LinkedIn, into Google, into Bing, and all the different tools we can use was a massive increase in conversions. Well, great, you're going from gated to ungated, that's obvious. But the difference was we had a conversion rate increase of 98%. That was from our UX team giving best practice recommendations, and also how we drove into the larger increase of marketing opportunities of 333%. That's a big number. Flat budgets, huge results. Flexential came to us, not able to spend. After a year working with them, we were able to show huge results, 400% marketing source pipeline. This is both from paid as well as owned, as we did an organic strategy as well, and started to already see the fruits there. But basically, marketing sourced. Last click attribution, which I know some of you are probably like, we don't do last click attribution, but some of you probably are like, yes, we need last click attribution. We can play where you need us. 250% and 200% growth from a SQL and MQL perspective. Lastly, Payrix came to us and basically said, hey, hold the phone. We need to redo our whole messaging framework. So back in that slide where we're talking about ICP, content, and messaging alignment, we basically stopped marketing, sat down with them, worked out a new strategy, and put this live with it. And this is results within 60 days that they were having was 180% of conversion volume, 50% in SQL, from 32% growth in MQL growth. That's from aligning the power of the funnel, using 6sense in the middle, but also aligning the content and putting the right content to the right user at the right time. Here's some key takeaways, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Liz mentioned this, have your best practices implemented. If you're not doing it, you're silly. And so go out there, go make sure that you're doing that. If you have questions, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about best practices and what to do there. Liz talked about the audits. The audits is how we make sure the best practices are implemented. Don't be afraid of AI. Don't be afraid of AI search. That is the second one. Leverage it. That is where users are going, and make sure that you harness it. With that is the third one. Embrace incrementality. You're not just going to leapfrog and do like a bullet train activity. You're going to have incremental increments that you can put live and see wins, but also see losses and learn from them. So embrace incrementality as you're making changes, understanding it's a long game. And this is Liz's, I'll do my best to say it, but test and learn, test and burn, test and win. You're not always going to win, but learn, test fast, test always, and make sure you're embracing what are the insights and how do you evolve your strategy. Again, going back to incrementality for increments that you can bring in. Thank you for joining our TED Talk. We are here to answer some questions.
All right. Right before we get to questions, I got one more here. I had to learn this that I got to throw out here. So, why are vampires bad at art? Because they only draw blood. All right. Enough with that. Let's get to some questions. This is a great one. This is kind of a strategic question here from Kelly. Thinking about removing all gates on our website since assets are not crawled or indexed, so no visibility. The trade-off is no user information or ability to limit competitors from accessing. This is a business decision, but curious to hear your opinion. Brian, Liz, either one of you want to take a shot at that?
I'll take that one. I talk about, there's a lot of opinions about how much you gate versus ungate. You're correct. PDFs, videos, they're not going to show up there. You do need to collect some information depending on what your goals and KPIs are, and probably getting the right content based on the funnel stage. That's where you can have no index pages versus index pages, where you put the right content up there to be searched. How you reframe your content is of the most importance, so that ChatGPT, Claude, all the different ones, Gemini, whatever, they're all reading it and understanding it. So there's no one size fits all answer to that question outside of it's an understanding of what your goals and KPIs are, understanding what content needs to be there so that you are being cited in LLMs, and then having that content ungated, not having it in videos, not having it in PDFs, but still you probably have some content that you want to have that is higher value that you want to remove into your own.
Great answer. I mean, and philosophically, 6sense, we're very much non-gated, but there's a place and a time for it. And as the director of digital marketing, I will tell you, I'm not always in agreement with that, but we'll leave it at that. All right. So Janice got a question here. What tools do you suggest for LLM insights?
Well, selfishly, I'll say our own tool that we can demo you. There's a lot of tools out there. And there's a lot of ones that you can get on the cheap. There's some that you can get for paid services. Um, there's quite a few that we could recommend. However, we would always recommend our own, just to be selfish and honest of why we have this tool and what we've been able to do for clients to help make sure they're actually being cited in LLMs and what we do. And so that's something I'd be more than willing to talk with anyone after the call on the tool that we have and what we do with it.
All right. Another question from Janet. How are you tracking the Salesforce offline conversions? What tool are you using for this? We're struggling with this in particular. That's a great.
Yeah, I'll start on this one. Liz, chime in. Offline conversion is always tricky because you're leveraging salespeople to go put in that and tie the data. So if someone in Salesforce, which I do my own Salesforce for ROI DNA, is behind, you have bad data from that perspective. And so actually leveraging it that way is what we basically have seen is that sales is actually doing that. I know there's tools you can leverage like Gong and things like that that you can put in to automate this stuff. The question is, what makes sense for you?
Yeah, that's a great answer. Great answer. A lot of people also, especially for lower stages, just use those standardized amounts, but how helpful is that, right? If you're just using like 50K for every deal.
Yep.
All right. When it comes to 6sense display ads, retargeting ads, what's a good monthly spend for ads that's pretty standard across the board? That's a very, very good question, Essence. I'll take a shot at this first since I'm from 6sense. That's a tough one to answer. I mean, it really is going to depend on what audience are you retargeting, how many accounts are in there, and what are you retargeting them with? Typically, what I would say is that we would spend anywhere from $5 to $20 per account, would be a rough estimate. But what I typically do when it comes to retargeting is I'm trying to drive people back to our site. I'm trying to get them